Perhaps you've forgotten what it's like outside these walls. Heartless and savage.
Universal Pictures brings you an amazing tale of adventure in a spin-off from the smash hit Mummy series, The Scorpion King. The film stars Michael Clarke Duncan, Stephen Brand, Kelly Hu, Grant Heslov, and reprising his role as Matthias the Scorpion King, The Rock.
I think this guy is the next action hero. You heard it right here from me.
It's one of those fantastic films that you can't help but get excited about.
It's got action, it's got comedy, it's got love story.
It's much like The Mummies, but I think it's a lot more down and dirty.
Set and background.
After captivating a worldwide audience with his appearance in The Mummy Returns, The Rock comes back to the big screen to tell the full story of this fascinating character.
The Scorpion King is a spin-off. I think we date back about 10 years earlier from the character you see in The Mummy Returns.
What was he before he became king? You know, well, that's something that had to be dreamed up.
Matthias starts off as an Akkadian assassin, and then his family is murdered in front of him.
Matthias is hired to stop an evil warlord whose name is Memnon, who has been the scourge of the land.
What has kept Memnon so successful is the fact that he has a sorcerer by his side who's able to see the outcomes of every battle.
The sorcerer turns out to be, in fact, a sorceress.
Matthias finds out that it's a woman who's stunning.
You've been betrayed, Matthias.
You know my name.
And why you're here.
A kind of highly charged love story begins between the two of them as he tries to fulfill his assignment.
I've come for the woman and your head.
The assassin and the sorceress. How romantic.
Bury you both together.
To play the nemesis to The Rock's Matthias, the filmmakers turned to acclaimed British actor, Stephen Brand.
He's trained himself to become a very skillful military tactician and hand-to-hand fighter. He's got all of the skills required to achieve total global domination, but he's also got the drive and the will to do it. The combination's pretty scary.
You really believe that this guy is the ultimate bad guy.
Complicating this battle between good and evil, each man pursues the talents of the mysterious sorceress Cassandra, played by Kelly Hu.
In the beginning of the film, you're not quite sure of where Cassandra stands. She's definitely on Memnon's team.
We put out an all-out casting search for somebody who had beauty, charisma, intelligence, and could be a bit enigmatic on screen.
The role of sorceress was a crucial choice, and Kelly just shined through.
I think when Cassandra first sees Matthias, she's interested in this guy. He's strong, he's sexy, and he's got something in his destiny. You know, she realizes that this might be the guy who can save her from everything. Who can't fall in love with Rock? He's a sexy guy.
It's a tough job today. Somebody's got to do it.
When it came time to cast the role of the fearsome Balthazar, producers turned to Oscar-nominated Michael Clarke Duncan.
Assassin!
Who dies first?
Balthazar is the baddest person in the movie. This guy is a Nubian king. He runs a clad group of nomads.
Michael Clarke Duncan, he's got the biggest, most wonderful vibe of any actor I've ever worked with.
He was always laughing, he was always joking with Rock.
The Rock and Michael Clarke Duncan were actually longtime friends before filming ever began, so they used behind-the-scenes taunting to help motivate their characters' antagonistic relationship.
There's a fight scene between them that was something that they prepared for weeks.
Assassin!
Rock left one of his 8x10s in Michael's trailer, and all it's had written on it was tick, 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 tick.
Him, we'll kill for free. He's got a little bit of charisma.
I am the baddest guy here, not The Rock.
You know, he kind of looks like your everyday guy. It's difficult.
You know what? I really just let him have this movie.
He brings an okay presence to the film.
And he actually begged me, he said, Michael, please just, can I be the star? I said, you go ahead, man, do your thing, man.
I mean, if we weren't friends, I'd be gone.
We have a fight scene together. This is gonna be one of the best fight scenes people have seen in a long time.
And we're cut. Cut!
At the helm of the project, keeping together the elements of strong characters, a compelling story, and elaborate stunt work, is director Chuck Russell.
Now, again, I want to see it right in the middle. I'm the camera now. You ready? Okay. Here we go. And action. Look, now you waited.
Chuck has really been able to help me tremendously. I'm completely open and a sponge to his idea and his mind and his train of thought in terms of directing a film.
That's just the whole jam up. Now I'll get the details with the Steadicam in your point of view. Let's see the other shot, please.
There's a lot of things I love about directing. One of them is working with really exciting new cast members like this.
The director often sets the tone for a film, and he made it very easy for me.
Now we got it going. See how that works? Who can catch this kid? Nobody. We don't know who's got it.
He's a fantastic director, and of course, he's a guy who knows action.
Now we got to drive it that way with it. Then where's the sweep kick?
Right here.
Right there, bang. All right, good.
The fighting techniques The Rock acquired as six-time World Wrestling Entertainment Champion proved to be the perfect base for the complex and demanding sword fighting scenes.
Those are dangerous scenes, even though they're carefully staged and choreographed. You are still swinging swords around. They're heavy. You're swinging them with a lot of velocity. They will hurt you. If anybody misses a move or pulls a move, somebody's going to get hurt.
Certainly the sword work was new for me, getting with the guy named Al Leong, who's done a lot of films. Al has a fantastic mind. He's able to visualize the fight scenes, and I'm able to map them out with him. He's helped me tremendously.
And this will be down, and you're going to see it come, then you whip that baby up.
For a man his size, he moves like a ballet dancer. There's something about the way he handles the action scenes that you can't take your eyes off of. And he can handle that sword. That's a big sword. And we've had trouble with any of the stunt doubles being able to duplicate that.
The nice part about Rock, and especially in this film, is you get to see different dimensions of him. He's not just this one-dimensional, pardon the expression, ass-kicking character. You know, I mean, you get to see there's a sensitive side of him. You know, there's emotion there. You know, there's humor. So you get to see it all in this film with The Rock.
There's kind of a vacuum in the action world in the last couple of years. You can just tell the rhythm of this when it's time for somebody new. The Rock's come on the scene at a very opportune time. We can use somebody very exciting in this field who can carry a story.
I think in life we're always looking for growth. We're always looking for change. I know how I am personally. This was a chapter in my life that I wanted to begin. It's just a very special time, very special moment in my life.
He's a very, very fine actor and a really good man too. I have nothing but good things to say about Rock.
Wherever we were shooting with him, kids would gather around, the parents would gather around. He is a man of the people. Very, very warm guy. Stopped to talk to every kid who visited, told them all to stay in school. How cool can a guy be? I mean, he gets hit by chairs and bricks and then comes back the next day and goes, okay, what are we shooting?
I must say, it was an incredible experience working with him.
In a hurry to get back to Memnon?
No, I'm in a hurry to get away from you. I'll never go back to Memnon. He's kept me prisoner since I was a child.
The visual scope and scale of this ancient setting was brought to the screen by production designer Ed Verreau.
I'm standing actually on the back lot here at Universal Studios, and so the set behind me, a lot of is a set that we've actually added to. We've actually built this Gomorrah town square, but the basis of the set is a series of steps and columns, which was actually from the film Spartacus.
Beautiful steel shot.
It's really exciting to be starring in a movie that's set back in ancient times. Obviously, when you come onto the set, it's certainly a testament to all the creative minds, a testament to the hard workers that put the set together.
I think for me, the set that I just enjoyed the most on this movie was doing the harem, because usually the sets I've done have been fairly monochromatic, and I've used a lot more color in this movie than I have in the films I've done in the past.
Although the craftsmen behind the Scorpion King were able to do wonders in creating authentic sets, there was one task where hammer and nails were of little help. The script also called for a world inhabited by an abundance of animals and insects, and here again, authenticity was the key.
The scorpions, for example, are real. And I do pull out a scorpion by the tail and drape it on the back of my hand. On my life, they are real scorpions, and they're pretty scary.
There were a couple of times where we had to work with real snakes, and that was a bit nerve-wracking.
Try not to overlap them over snakes.
Yes, cobras. Not fun animals to be around. Not cuddly pets, really.
While the film's characters had to battle snakes and scorpions, it was behind the scenes with a very different member of the animal kingdom where The Rock may have finally met his match.
We had a camel. Scirocco was a very well-trained 15-year-old camel, coachable and very likable, and took to people very well.
Good girl.
The other camel we got is a 4-year-old rambunctious camel who doesn't like people and certainly doesn't like me.
A cantankerous 1,500-pound camel was not the only extreme challenge this cast and crew would have to face.
Chuck told me when I first got the film that it was going to be probably the most demanding role I had ever done physically. A lot of the challenges were more about battling the elements, being out in the desert in 110-degree weather in the blazing sun.
Here we go, big heavy camera ready.
It's very hot today in Yuma. 100 degrees.
Every shot of this film is going to be one of these natural elements: fire, smoke, sweat, and heat.
It was not a simple fight. It was a fight in a sandstorm. The Rock and I got that someone was there who shoveled always kind of sand in our face. That is how it felt.
Set in.
Lovers of action will love this movie.
It's a big entertainment, but it does have a heart.
Will you stand alone before the fury of his armies?
Yes.
It's a visual feast. I mean, it's a beautiful film.
It has fantastic lines of comedy and tragedy.
Get ready. I'll kill half, you kill half. The great thing about it, it has all the classic elements of a fantastic film.
Ed Verreau is a wonderful production designer. He gets it. We want places we can believe in.
The production designer was responsible for the design and construction of all the sets, all the stuff that the settings, all the locations, and also just the look of the movie as far as the settings go. And I worked with the director of photography in coming up with this whole world that you see behind you.
First of all, we're making Sodom and Gomorrah in California, based Southern California. And so, you know, picking the right locations to pull that off, which amazingly so, they're here.
We actually had the exterior of the Gomorrah city walls as well as another big set, and it's out at a location called Mystery Mesa that's about 30 miles outside of town. We've also had locations actually all around town here. So we've had locations out in Pico Canyon by Magic Mountain, which was our tent city. We also had the Bandit Hideout, which is in an old canyon that's just around the corner here from Universal Studios called Bronson Canyon, which has been used in a lot of movies and a lot of TV. And in fact, the cave that they come out of was actually the Bat Cave for the TV show. So we've actually kind of rounded up all the usual suspects and tried to change them and adjust them and make them look like something new.
Ed Verreau was very enthusiastic about that. You know, it was an opportunity to use all of our best people and use our wits and create a little more fanciful version of this ancient world that would suit the fun tone of the movie. We started right away with what settings did exist to get the most out of our money and enhance those, and then the sets we were building from scratch to use our imaginations.
We shot in Spartacus Square here at Universal, which is a classic stage set with great history from, of course, the movie Spartacus.
I'm standing actually on the back lot here at Universal Studios, and so the set behind me is a set that we've actually added to. We've actually built this Gomorrah town square, but the basis of the set is a series of steps and columns. And so what we've done is we've gone back and we've enhanced that. Now Spartacus took place during Roman times, so we had to get rid of the Roman columns and put in our much more simplified Egyptian-like columns and things like that to, you know, to actually make it quite a bit more crude, because the idea was that architecture hadn't developed. For one thing, they hadn't developed the arch yet, although you'll see a few arches in this movie, not all that many. So, you know, that's one of the things that we've had to do. Also, as you look around the set, it looks like a lot of this stuff is actually concrete and plaster and stone, but a lot of it's actually just painted canvas. If you were to turn around, right behind you, that wall behind you is actually just a big painting. And to the camera, it will appear to be stone and all that, but so there are lots of tricks like that. There are also places where the walls don't actually go all the way to the top. We have all this set dressing and stuff around us here that actually helps to hide the fact that we're really over here in downtown Burbank or at Universal Studios, and all around us there's a working movie set.
There's several steps to preparing a fight sequence. Ideally, you'd have 6 months because you're talking about training actors with sword skills and other ancient weapons that they usually don't have. But we didn't have that kind of time, sadly, so we really had to kind of focus exactly what we needed for the fights. First of all, every fight tells a story. I try to know as a director what I'm going for theatrically, within the storyline, within the characterizations. I need to know the subtext of the fight so I can communicate it to the actors, and it's going to make a difference in how we stage the fight. I also need to know the action hooks. You know, what's going to make this fight special? What's the climax of the fight going to be?
Now we got to drive you that way with it. Then where's the sweep kick?
Right here.
Right there, bang. All right, good. Then I'm left with this arena for this whole snake thing. So the second kick's going to back you off even farther. And we're going to fence over the cobras.
So first of all, it's concept. Then we go into general training for sword skills, but then we go into very specific training of moves for the concepts of those scenes, and then very specific honing of that fight to work with the character's strengths and extra training to get those things we don't have.
We trained very hard on the fights. You know, right from the very beginning, I was training 3-4 times a week, you know, working to kind of get our basic fundamental techniques together so that, you know, when they bring in fight moves and they change the fights and they re-coordinate them and choreography changes, you know, we're able to adapt very quickly.
Right away, please.
So we all worked very hard to kind of make sure that we were very comfortable with the work we had to do.
Concept, rehearsal, and then final staging of the fight on the sets, because the sets are really the last element in any fight scene. How are we going to use this set to help the fight? What are the set's limitations? All those rehearsals in gymnasiums and warehouses suddenly have to be adapted for the space we have with our camera, with our lighting, and with the set itself, and whatever the surprise limitations might be of that set. So we try to do our final rehearsals on the weekends and really start to incorporate the levels of the set and the set pieces. And I tried to build as much of that in because it gives the fight different dimensions. The progress is all about homework and ultimately about the passion of the fight and creating safety. When we're swinging these 25-pound weapons around, even though the edges are dulled, someone can really get hurt. So we need to carefully choreograph these and very literally choreograph them as you would a dance scene. We'll go through and block the key points, and I'll rely on my stunt coordinators and sword masters to further inspire me blow by blow.
Well, the funny thing is that I did most of my fight choreography with Albert Leong, who's the fight coordinator, who's small. And it wasn't until the first day of the shooting that I actually crossed swords with The Rock, which was kind of weird because I'd got used to hitting somebody who's 5'7", and all of a sudden I'm looking up at this guy who's 6'3", and it was quite a strange thing. And also he has a different, I mean, he wields his sword much heavier than, you know. It was good fun. I mean, we both really enjoyed it, and I hope that is reflected in the fights, because we've really worked hard to make them as authentic as we can.
Our sword master was Al Leon, who you'll recognize if you watch the archery scene, where Memnon catches the arrow. That's Al shooting the arrow. And Al's been in many pictures, so he is somewhat recognizable as a performer. He's very skilled, but he's a very passionate instructor, and was great with my teaching sword skills to my entire cast. He knew I wanted to use principles as much as possible, and he was quite dedicated to that, and I thought inventive. Also, Andy Chang was one of our fight coordinators who works a lot with Jackie Chan. And Andy's got a different style that I was able to incorporate that is very, very fast. And I actually had to slow Andy down a little bit, because I don't want to see The Rock and Michael Clark Duncan doing the fast Jackie Chan slaps. I want to see these big men do follow through. They're great, legendary characters. They're powerful men in real life. So we had to incorporate some of Andy's style and yet make it a little bit bigger than life than some of the things he's done. The combination of those two men, and Billy Burton, our second unit director, who's a great traditional action director and coordinator, stager, I think brought out the best of the range of action I wanted to do, to make sure each fight had its own personality and its own style and its own challenges.
Assassin. Will you stand alone before the fury of his armies? Where do you think you're going with my horse? You watch yourself, Acadian.
No need for concern, miss.
Oh, he's gonna pay for that.
Live free.
Rule well.
The most fun I had with The Rock was really between him and Michael Clark Duncan. There was a great camaraderie
and also kind of a great sense of competition between them.
It just so happens that as we were all being pitched the treatment, and speaking to Kevin Misher, the producer on the film, Kevin had said, you know, we have this one part, his name is Balthazar, and we'd love to get Michael Clark Duncan.
I had hoped for nothing less.
Not too sure if he's available, not too sure if he's even willing to do it.
And I remember saying, okay, so they're gonna go on the road and they're gonna meet this guy who runs this, you know, this rebel hideaway, and, you know, he's gonna be a tough guy and you're gonna fight, and it's gonna be like Robin Hood and Little John. That's gonna be the relationship. And, you know, Michael Clark Duncan would be perfect for this. Like, that's the type of guy we want. And he said, Michael Clark Duncan. Michael Clark Duncan's one of my best friends.
And I said, hey, well, before you even go on, I think it's a great idea. And not only that, we're the best of friends. I'll call him tonight and we'll see.
He called me and I said, will you explain to me what's going on? He said, this is what's happening. Talked about 10 minutes. I said, I don't care, let's do it.
And before he even read anything, he's like, I'm in. Actually, he's like, I'm in.
I said, I really want to work with you, because we'd always talked about working together. And when you got two buddies working together, it makes the day go a lot quicker.
Knowing that they were friends, and that the role called for someone who started out as a rival in which they try to beat each other down, and then end up as friends.
One night sanctuary. And pray our paths never cross again.
We really felt we could draw on their real-life friendship to enrich what happened on screen, and it worked great. Even when they're going at each other in the movie, I assure you, when the camera stopped, they were laughing about it.
There's a fight scene between them that was something that they prepared for weeks, just by sort of taunting each other.
And Rock would leave pictures of himself in Michael's trailer with, you know, 2 days left, 1 day left, get ready.
Kick his ass!
It's fun to see these two guys at each other, in character and in real life. They really played each other throughout this entire picture.
Bring the woman to me! Damn, Rock, you got that much power, baby? I guess I do.
When we finally got to shoot the fight, The Rock knows from his experience, and I know from my experience, choreographing fights, the most important thing for safety. I mean, we do have to block it out like a dance and then go back and really make it wild. But Michael's not quite so used to all the choreography. So there was a sequence, when you watch the film, as towards the very end of their fight, Rock, the battle turns to Rock's favor. And there's a flurry of punches and elbows. And Michael Clark Duncan leaned forward when he was supposed to lean backwards. So I have a wonderful shot of him taking Rock's elbow solidly in the jaw.
Chuck Russell, the director, had yelled action, and I was just so amped up and so geeked up and ready to go, and we had this vibe going, this energy, and I caught Michael with the tip of my elbow and it knocked him out, and the whole set went quiet.
He did not knock me out. He knocked me down to one knee. One knee, not out.
I knocked him out for about 5 seconds.
One knee, right there. I got up, I shook it off, I continued to film. Please let him know it was not out.
I just hit this guy, he got knocked out.
Tell him to stop telling people out. Knocked down, I give him that.
And there's 300 people, so he's probably somewhat embarrassed, and he's making his way up, and I go over to him, I said, Mike, you okay? And he goes, don't touch me. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to go. We're gonna have to go. This is what it comes down to. When he gets up, I got a feeling he's gonna swing.
But it wasn't even a good hit. Even a good lick, man, come on.
He was a trooper. He was great, and I thought, man, thank God our friendship overweighed the elbow, because he would have hurt me. Actually, he wouldn't have hurt me. I mean, if he would have swung, I would have whooped his ass right there on the set. No questions asked, but, you know, he didn't swing.
It was like a boxing match. He was like, Chuck, I'm okay, I can shoot, man, I can shoot. I'm like, okay, Michael, what day of the week is it, you know? We had the smelling salts and everything.
Action!
Cut.
Now, what Michael then did to get back at The Rock was the makeup guys took him to the makeup trailer and put a huge wad of cotton in Michael's mouth, so it looked like his entire face was swollen. And they set the Rock up. They had cameras, a still camera, ready to get his reaction. And Michael came out saying, "Rock, I can't shoot the movie anymore, man. You messed my face up." And we have a shot of Rock where he looks like a broken-hearted puppy. He felt so badly, he thought he'd really hurt Michael and probably ruined the scene. And of course, it was a big diss, and everybody had a good laugh at The Rock's expense. There was a lot of humor on this set. It helped make the hard work go much better.
One night sanctuary. And pray you never hit me like that again.
I'm a big animal lover, so for me it's really been wonderful. I love to see the personalities that these various animals have. And the differences between one camel and the next. And we've had everything from very ancient-looking oxen to exotic birds that I never knew existed, to these very, very primitive ants that don't exist at all, that we're busy creating ourselves.
The tricky thing about doing a movie that takes place in 3000 BC is that, of course, the second you turn on the camera, you have to create the entire world behind the actors. For animals, we had to get horses and oxen, camels, scorpions. We pretty much had every kind of primitive animal you could find. And of course, coordinating that and building saddles that looked like they were from 3000 BC to go on all the horses and the camels was also, quite an undertaking as well.
Different animals that we have, it helps to get into character that way because you're not around those kind of animals all the time. So to see the camel, to see the horses and donkeys, and to be around such fabulous horses, it puts you right there, so it helps with the characterization.
When are you going to get rid of that filthy beast?
He doesn't mean anything by it.
Horses are faster.
But camels are smarter. The addition of the camel, of a beautiful white camel, in the film just gave Matthias again just something different, and that extra added that element of something special, and it's very unique. That here's this Akkadian assassin, this warrior, Scorpion King, and he's riding on just a beautiful white camel as opposed to a horse.
I thought that taking the camel as the Rock's ride, as he calls it, and giving them a personal relationship would be a lot of fun.
Well, the first thing I said to him when I met him, I said, when can you start learning to ride a camel? Because we knew he'd never ridden a horse, or had seldom ridden a horse. We were going to have to get him looking pretty proficient, because the camel, of course, plays one of his chief sidekicks in the movie, and he had to look completely natural and feel comfortable on and off and beside the camel for the whole picture.
Riding a camel was, learning how to ride a camel was an interesting experience with Sled Reynolds, who is the animal guy of the industry.
We actually lucked out. We had a really fantastic older camel at the beginning of the film, and Rock was really able to learn to ride pretty competently.
It wasn't necessarily that difficult at first. Of course, having with the tutelage and guidance that Sled was able to provide to me was fine. But what happened was we had a camel, one of his camels. Scirocco was a very well-trained 15-year-old camel who would listen to Sled and was very coachable and very likable, and took to people very well. The other camel we got is a 4-year-old rambunctious camel who doesn't like people and certainly doesn't like me.
So the camel sometimes has a good day, and this camel sometimes doesn't want you on him. And I think the camel especially didn't like Rock, because every time Rock got on his back, he'd be screaming the whole time, complaining and screaming and screaming. It was really difficult to get dialogue out when the camel was screaming.
Whoa. Little did I know, the camels really don't naturally like people. And the variety of camels we had to use to create the one character included the nice camel for the scenes where he nuzzles the rock, to the really crazy camel, because it takes a crazy camel to charge at a dozen horses in that sandstorm scene. A normal camel is much too smart and not very cooperative and would never run at a dozen horsemen directly like that. So we had to take the youngest, wildest camel we could find for that particular sequence that didn't mind running at it. It wasn't a very well-behaved camel. And in fact, it was really the one case in the film where I had to talk to The Rock about the safety issues. While I can stage these fights so that while they might be risky, there's, a very reasonable safety element. That was an unpredictable camel. The camel was throwing the wranglers. I mean, out there in the desert as we prepared to shoot the scene, and when I was speaking to The Rock about it, saying, listen, this camel's wild, I'm not sure you can handle it. We should talk about this. I really had to ask his opinion before I made a decision. And as I was speaking to him, the camel happened to ride by at that point with a wrangler completely out of control and threw the wrangler. And I looked down at the guy, and unfortunately it was sand, so he didn't get hurt too badly. But as we both looked down at the camel's latest victim, The Rock looked at me and said, don't worry, I can handle the camel, it's cool. I felt that we were telling a story where we'd be better with naturalistic designs and naturalistic effects work. I wanted it to become more photoreal and a little more believable than some of the other things in the Mummy films. This isn't a story based on creatures. It's a story based on the characters and the struggle itself of these tribes. So I didn't want to distract from that and give a sense that just anything could happen at any time. The pressure was on. I needed to match my cobras. I was using real cobras, and I put the pressure on Centropolis, who did our animation effects, our character effects, to really do a great job. It's much harder to blend into shots of real cobras. Once they begin to be enchanted by the sorceress and do her bidding, it's much more difficult to match photography when you're using that much footage of live cobras. It's a lot easier to do, believe it or not, it's a lot easier to do a T-Rex because we don't see them that often. A snake is a little more naturalistic of an effect, and when looking through film reference, I hadn't seen it done well previously. So I thought they did a fantastic job. There's a shot of the sorceress holding the snake wrapped around her arm, threatening Memnon at the end of the film. The snake hisses right into camera in a close-up, and it's a spectacular CG effect.
What magic is this?
My magic. I see your fate, Hollow King. And its time has come.
Fascinating, isn't it? This smoke, it causes the fire ants to abandon their homes, you see? All the sooner to feast on our naked heads.
This was a good concept in the original screenplay. We took it further, and as I storyboarded it and began to rehearse that scene, one of the first things I did with The Rock to see if he was going to be flexible as an actor was to work on some improvisations based on those ants.
You promise not to kill me?
Yes, I promise.
Remember, you were an Acadian. You make a promise, you always have to keep it, right?
That's right.
That's a good example of a scene where there's more of a burden on the actor than the audience realizes. There's nothing there. Those ants are all CG. I had to put them in later. But the actor's going to have to create a sense of that approaching jeopardy. There has to be an urgency in the performance, or no matter how good the optical is, it's never believable. So we actually did rehearsals in conference rooms with The Rock imagining that. Now, out of those good rehearsals, I had the idea that in the final approach of the ants, this is a character who never gives up. Wouldn't it be fun if he actually was slamming them with his chin? That's something that came out of improvisations working with The Rock in his first exercises as an actor. That's the first stage after the screenplay concepts. Then we refine the screenplay and storyboard the sequence. And our final work is as we choose the location, which was in Lancaster, California, where there's a lot of amazing natural rock formations. I refine the storyboards and work out with my cinematographer really a shot list for those days, and work closely with my optical effects house to make sure I'm giving them the material that they need to do the technical side of making these ants come to life. And that's math, science, and art all wrapped together. A scene like that has a lot of elements. And I get a kick out of it because I'm using everything from art department and my grips through to the scientists in the optical effects world. It's an amazing combination of talents it takes to pull off a sequence like that. My favorite shot in the sequence is as the ants appear. I realized it would be a wonderful shot to sort of arrive up out of this enormous anthill with them and reveal our victims, in this case The Rock, buried up to his neck, looking like he's never going to get out. It's one of the more successful optical effects in the picture.